South Korea is famous for its natural beauty, and if you are thinking of visiting Seoul this year, then it is important to know that the city can completely transform with each season. Choosing when to visit Seoul can completely change your experience, and even if you have visited before, visiting in a different month will make the city feel brand new again. So today, we're going month by month to tell you our personal preferences for when you should visit Seoul and giving you hints and tips for what the city will look like throughout all 12 months of the year. The absolute best time to visit Seoul is in the month of April. Typically around the first week of April is when the cherry blossoms are in full bloom around the city. Depending on the overall weather, the cherry blossoms tend to last around 10 days before the petals start to fall. What's great about Seoul is that there are so many places where you can see the cherry blossoms around the city, such as Seoul Forest, Sokcheon Lake, Namsan Mountain, and much more. The weather around this time is also amazing, with the typical temperature around 13 degrees Celsius or 55 degrees Fahrenheit. This means that the days can be warm without being too hot or humid, and the nights are cool enough for a light jacket. Once the cherry blossoms are gone, there are also other flowers to see, such as the magnolias that bloom in early April and the tulips that typically bloom at the end of the month. The only potential downside for visiting in April is that the air quality does have a tendency to be bad around the spring due to the pollen and the yellow dust. However, if you have the freedom to visit Seoul at any time this year, I would highly recommend April as my absolute favorite month to visit. Another great time to visit Seoul is in October. This is a time when Seoul is starting to see its autumn foliage, with the leaves typically hitting their peak reds and yellows just before Halloween. The weather in October is very similar to April, with the average temperatures around 13 degrees Celsius and 55 degrees Fahrenheit. One of the highlight festivals of the year is the International Firework Festival, which usually takes place in early October. October is actually one of the last months in Seoul to have a lot of outdoor festivals because it starts to become too cold in November. This means that there are so many great outdoor festivals to visit throughout the month and hardly any rain to ruin the festivities. Seoul also loves getting into the Halloween spirit, and it's not too hard to find any spooky activities throughout the month, especially at some of the theme parks that often host special Halloween shows and parades. There are hardly any downsides to visiting Seoul in October, and it is an absolute must visit for anyone seeking to see the beautiful autumn leaves. May probably has the most beautiful and comfortable weather of the year, and is definitely one of my favorite months to go out and explore Seoul. One of the things that makes May particularly special is the national holiday celebrating Buddha's birthday. This usually takes place at the beginning of the month, and there are always lots of cultural events, performances, and parades surrounding the holiday. May is also a time when many of the summer festivals start kicking off, and one of my favorite activities over the last few years has been watching the free drone shows that take place over the Han River. May is really the perfect balance between summer and spring, with warm sunny days and cool refreshing nights that are perfect for travelers looking for the best weather for their first time trips to Seoul. June is the month that absolutely offers the best weeks to visit Seoul if you are specifically wanting to come in the summer. The first few weeks of June are stunning weather-wise, with very little rain or humidity and pleasant temperatures averaging around 22 degrees Celsius or 72 degrees Fahrenheit. This is a great time to spend having picnics by the Han River, and I highly recommend visiting the Banpo Bridge to see their famous water show and enjoy the surrounding area next to the river. June is also a month known for beautiful flowers such as red poppies and roses. Olympic Park in Songpa-gu is a great place to see both, but there are also many beautiful rose gardens all around the city. June is also a time for many outdoor festivals, so it is a great time to see some Korean musicians performing in the spectacular weather. The only downside to visiting in June is that the last week of the month tends to get very hot, humid, and rainy, so if you are planning to visit in June, then I would highly recommend booking your stay during the early weeks of the month. November is a month that offers a lot of variety in terms of overall weather and experiences in Seoul. The first half of the month offers vibrant autumn leaves throughout the city and is the best chance you'll have to see some of the deep reds and oranges of autumn. While the peak happens around the first week of November, depending on the weather, there is a good chance you can see some form of autumn leaves throughout most of the month. By the middle of November, the weather starts to get noticeably more cold. While it is rare, there have been some occasions where it does snow in late November. Also towards the end of the month, many department stores have their Christmas decorations up throughout the city. November is a good time to visit if you would like to have a good blend of autumn and winter experiences in the city, and overall the weather is very pleasant but a bit on the colder side as the month progresses. December is personally my favorite month to enjoy the winter season in Seoul. One thing that is unique to December is all of the beautiful Christmas decorations throughout the city. It is not hard to find department stores and cafes that go all out for Christmas, and of course the shopping in Seoul is top notch. December is also the time you are most likely to see the first snow in Seoul, and it is pretty typical to see snow as early as mid-December. The benefit of enjoying the winter season in December is that you are likely to see snow, but the temperatures and wind are not as bitterly cold as they are in later months. December is also the time when special winter foods start to be sold, and it is hard to beat getting a delicious hotteok on a cool winter night surrounded by beautiful Christmas lights. While winter is personally my least favorite season to visit Korea in general, I do enjoy all of the special Christmas aesthetics and activities that Seoul offers in December. September is another one of those months in Seoul where one season begins to transform into another. The beginning of the month provides a relief from the humid months of summer, and by the end of September, you are finally starting to get the first chill of autumn. September is also the month where the special holiday of Chuseok is celebrated. Chuseok is a holiday that celebrates the harvest season and the full moon, and provides unique foods and aesthetics that many travelers would find very interesting. Leading up to the holiday, you are very likely to see and experience a lot of cultural performances and festivals around the city. Since Chuseok is based on the lunar calendar, it is always changing when it takes place, but when it does, Seoul gets a lot more calm and quiet during the holiday season, as many people leave Seoul to return to their hometowns to spend time with their families. With some good weather and unique cultural festivals and activities, September is an excellent month for first-time visitors to come to Seoul. March is the transitional month that says goodbye to the bitter cold of winter and ushers in the much-anticipated spring. The first couple of weeks can still be pretty chilly, and it's not uncommon to get one last snow day before the spring actually arrives. The second half of March is usually very pleasant, and you can see the first signs of spring breaking out in the parks and mountains all around the city. This is a good time to visit for anyone who might be looking to come when the crowds are a little more thin, but the weather is still overall very nice. The only potential downsides of visiting in March is the weather is still very unpredictable, and the air quality tends to be generally worse around this time. Even still, March can be an overall nice time to visit Seoul for those looking to experience elements of spring and winter. July is lower on the list because it is the beginning of the rainy season in Seoul. It rains a lot in July, to the point where most days during July are filled with non-stop rain. When it is not raining, then it is usually very hot and humid, making for an overall unpleasant experience if you have to spend any amount of time outside walking around. There are also no major holidays in July. However, one of the big positives is that despite the weather in July, there are always a ton of festivals happening during the summer. Certain festivals like the Water Bomb Festival and the Bifon Film Festival are annual occurrences that many people look forward to each year. January is typically the coldest month of the year in Seoul, and with that comes some positives and negatives. The big positives is that Seoul is so beautiful in the snow. I wouldn't say it necessarily snows a lot in January, but if you are visiting to see snow in Seoul, then January is probably your safest bet. January also features some fun holidays such as New Year's Day at the beginning of the month and Lunar New Year, which typically falls at the end of the month. During Lunar New Year, it is also fun to visit various palaces and temples to experience the decorations and festivities. The biggest downside of visiting in January is the harsh cold weather, the sad gray skies, and the fact that there just aren't many outdoor activities happening during this month. However, if you are someone who absolutely loves the winter and the cold, then January might be a good time to visit for you. August in Seoul is hot, and not only is it hot, but it is also extremely humid. This makes walking around outside absolutely miserable. Even at night, there is no relief, and there are many tropical nights during August. The biggest benefit of August is that it comes right after the rainy season, which means that the waterfalls and the mountains look their best during August. If you can tolerate the heat, then this is some of the best hiking scenery you can see in Seoul during the year. Another positive for August is the last week of the month is typically when the weather breaks and the humidity starts to drop, which means it can be a good time to enjoy some outdoor summer activities, such as watching a baseball game. Of course, there's a lot of great indoor activities you can do, and Seoul has some amazing shopping malls, which means that even if you have to visit in August, you can still find some pleasant things to do throughout the city. However, if you have the freedom to choose when you're going to visit Seoul, I would not recommend coming in August. February is my least favorite month to visit Seoul. Even though it is still very cold in February, it doesn't snow often. There are not any major festivals or holidays that take place in February, and in general, I feel like it is a very quiet and uneventful month. The biggest positives for visiting in February are that you might get a chance to see snow, and there will not be many crowds throughout the city. We just gave you a rundown of all 12 months of the year and highlighted our favorite times to visit Seoul, but the fun doesn't stop there. As always, we are dedicated to helping you explore all the wonderful things Seoul has to offer and more. So don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more travel guides and tips. If you've got a favorite time you like to visit Seoul, then let us know in the comments below, and we'll see you next time here at the Seoul Scene.